Hello, this is Kirsteen's Aesthetic Art and Travel, and I started this YouTube channel because when I tell people I'm an artist or that I do art, they often tell me, oh, I wish I could do more art, but I don't know where to start, or I used to, but I don't have the confidence anymore, or any number of reasons why they quit doing art. And I thought it would be nice to do a Skillshare so that people would be able to do art like I do if they wanted. And so, anyone who knew me or whatever, if they one day say, I wish Kirsteen had a chance to teach me to draw, they still can. Okay, so today I was going to make a paper cut like Matisse used to. Now, when Matisse was younger, he was painting. He started life as a lawyer and then became a painter once he started to be unwell, and no one could make him lawyer anymore, so he started doing what he wanted to do, which was paint. And he unfortunately continued to get ill, or got ill again later, and started to lose his eyesight. And when he started to lose his eyesight, it was difficult for him to paint, and so he used to make bright paper cuts, which are now pretty legendary. They're on the covers of books and bags, and they've got some of them in the Tate Modern in London, and they actually collected a whole lot of his work there, and I went to see it, and it was very interesting. And he didn't buy coloured paper already. He painted paper into his own colours, and then he cut it out with big scissors and stuck it on the wall with a stick from his bed when he became very ill. And that's how he made pictures. So I have painted some paper with watercolours and let it dry enough that I can cut it up. And I have colours from the opposite side of the colour wheel, so blue and yellow, opposite sides of the colour wheel. And I've done this because they will make each other look zingier. So just the yellow has a certain brightness to it, and just the blue has a certain brightness to it. But as soon as you put them next to each other, they make each other look brighter. And blue and orange are complementary colours. This is probably the closest to opposite on the colour wheel, but this is somewhat opposite on the colour wheel. And colours that are close to each other on the colour wheel, like these, are restful together. And colours that are opposite each other are zingy together, and we call them complementary colours. If this is orange and blue, then they're complementary colours. Alright. Now Matisse did lots of birds, and I'm going to do some rough birds as well because I like the birds. And I'm pretty sure that he just cut them straight out with big scissors and didn't draw them first. But you can check up on that if you like. I'm certainly happy to cut them out straight with scissors. Reasons for doing it this way. The painting your own paper gives you little textures like brush marks and darker areas and lighter areas, and it gives you a much more organic kind of looking object than if it was bought coloured paper. So here I've got some bought coloured paper, and you can see that it's absolutely uniform in colour. And then you compare this to it, and it varies so much. It's going to have a much more handmade, actual original artwork feel to it. And Matisse also used to use the cut-off bits. So he'd cut out shapes, and then he'd use the remainder shapes as well to make things. And this is a great way to have interesting random abstract shapes to add to your picture. This is a particularly good art project to do with kids because it's super easy. You get them to splash around. I've done it with groups of children, with classes, and it always goes down really well. It's nice and simple. You can show them a few pictures of Matisse paper cuts, and they get the idea right away, and they're off. and the results look lovely, even though it's a very simple thing to do. Right, let's get some orange in there. Now, reasons to cut it straight out without drawing it first is because it is rougher. It is harder to get perfect. And again, a bit like deliberately working in oil pastels to give you smudgy effects. I'm getting very imperfect birds by doing this, which is actually nice because they end up being very simple, very simplistic. The good thing about collage, which this is obviously sticking things, cutting things and sticking them, is that you can move things around. So if I painted a bird onto the surface and then didn't like where I'd put it, I'd be very stuck with it. So if you struggle with composition, if you struggle with where do I put things to make them look good, then collage is a great media for you to use because you can move them around and around and around and around until you only glue them when you're really sure you've gotten what the effect you want. As you can see, I'm not trying to be neat with any of this, just bold, simple. It actually already looks a bit like a Matisse to me. So Matisse and was a contemporary of Picasso. The two of them were probably the most famous artists in the world in their lifetime. They were much reported on and very rich and successful. And Picasso, I think, more so. Matisse is probably the second most famous artist in the world at the time, and they were both very successful in their lifetime, and they had a very public rivalry, and they were both very into modern art. They were both interested in being modern and not looking back, and so simplifying things, making things bold, not trying to represent things in the ways that traditional artists did. Modern was a very big fashion then. So Matisse and Picasso ended up with work on clothes, scarves. They ended up doing, Matisse did stained glass windows in churches. There was ceramics with it on, fabrics, tea towels, all sorts of things. Modern art from these famous modern artists was really ending up on just about everything that you have in your home or your city. Matisse's stained glass is well worth a look. It's really lovely, as well as his paper cuts. And his landscapes I like too, but particularly fond of his stained glass. So if it's something you want, a pleasant Google search, have a look at Matisse stained glass. Now you see the colour works together because it's bold and meant to be from opposite sides of the colour wheel. Haven't used the light yellow at all in the end. There you go. Matisse paper cut. Super simple, fun project. Like I say, very good for practicing composition because I've stuck this down as I went, but unlike me, you can just cut out loads of things and then arrange and rearrange and rearrange and rearrange until you're happy with it. And don't forget to use the interesting cut-offs as well, and paint your own so that you get these imperfect colours, and cut straight with scissors without drawing it first, I recommend, because again it gives you imperfect shapes and the whole thing adds to this kind of deliberately imperfect simple thing, which poor Matisse would barely have been able to see with his failing eyesight, even though he made them as big and as bright that they covered whole walls. And right at the end of his life, like I say, he lay in his bed and stuck them to the wall with a long stick in order to keep working until the very end of his life. He died in his 80s. Okay, so if you like Kirsteen's aesthetic art and travel, please do like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And thanks very much.